Yeah, let's just check this one. I'm pretty sure that this one is gonna be, I mean, come on, this obviously is gonna be, could have been a fluke. Let's just make sure. I gotta check this out here. It had to be real. This confirms it. This confirms it. 87, likely to be AI confirmed. I mean, surely though, these guys, this one has to be real though. There's no 99.4. Okay, let's at the very least. I mean, come on. Would probably like qualify here because 98. I always knew I was fake. AI detection is here, guys, and it's 99% accurate. It's been trained on millions of images. AI generated images were destroying the trust that people had in the internet. In the past few years, it was impossible to trust a single thing that you saw on the internet. Unlike the years before that, where you could trust everything that you saw on the internet. So now we're in an unprecedented time where people lie on the internet. I know, crazy. How will we go on? But not to worry, guys. Our light in the darkness is AI generated image detection. No longer will you fly blindly. Now the AI content detector will let you know what is real and what is fake. No more lying on the internet. That's a thing from a few years ago that everyone did all the time. But it's unprecedented now, I guess. You've already seen the absolute quality from this detector. It has already delegitimized this long-held fakery. I'm sure people are quivering in their boots with this truth bomb that just got dropped. And on top of that, I'm not even real. For the love of God, I don't even exist. That's a revelation to myself, considering I'm me. But you never know. Maybe I was generated. How would I know if I was? Okay, I actually have some other images I'd like to test out with this AI content detection tool here. So I actually have an image here. Yeah, this is an image that was generated using my AI thing. As you can see here, it is accurately detected as being 99% likely to be generated by AI. Again, this is an image that I generated, so I know that it's an AI generated image. I'm just showing this so that you see that this is an extremely accurate service that everyone should rely on. So I have another image here that I'm just gonna put in here. I'm just gonna see like what this image is reported as here, and well, obviously it's gonna get the same number considering that the last one was I think like 99% is what it was. Actually, wait a second. There's another image that I generated here, because this one was with a LoRa that I trained. Maybe there's like a bug or something, or I don't know. So I got another like thing that I got here. Okay, so this one definitely will be detected, because again, this was a LoRa that I trained, so I'm sure that this one is actually fake. So we will be... I'm so stupid. I just realized what I did. I'm so stupid. Actually, I was supposed to put this image. I was supposed to put this one, not the other one. Oh, God. Ah! There you go, 99.8. Oh, God. Oh, God. Obviously, I meant this one and not this one. Oh, God. Woo! Gee, oh, I almost had a heart attack there. Clearly, if you look at these two images, you could tell that there's, I mean, come on, there's a pretty large difference between them. And I should have I don't know how I got them confused, honestly. Obviously, it's been missing on a few of them, so I'm just gonna give it an easy one here that it can detect. It just made a few misses, it's fine. 13% AI generated. This image. Yeah, so this is an image from a artist that I found online. And we're just gonna test this here. So obviously this should be found real, because this was from a real artist, and I know 99 point... Oh, it's really sure too. That's the thing. That's the thing about it. It's really sure. You know what I'm gonna do? I have a model that was trained to generate images using this artist. So as you can see, this image is clearly in the style of the artist. Oh, okay. Well, 15.9. Okay, well, the image from training on the artist's images, that's not generated, but the actual artist image is... Okay, what's going on? It's really hard to detect AI generated images. The whole point of AI image generators is to generate images that look realistic. That's the point. Meaning that if they're good at what they do, they should be hard to be able to detect. So the more real they get, the more tiny the difference between an AI generated image is and a non-AI generated image. So you have to try to detect things in a really thin sliver. And you don't just have to hit the AI generated images. You have to not hit the real generated images, guys. And that's pretty difficult. If you look at these two images, trying to find something that will detect these two as being real, but not these two, it's just difficult. So what you actually end up doing is not what I said. Instead, you look for something that only exists inside of the AI generated images, that you don't look for the structure of the image. You look at the pixels of the image and try to separate images by using that as your metric. I don't know what it is that they're doing. I can't say for sure. But what I do know is how to circumvent what it is that they're doing, as you saw in the beginning of the video. If all you do is add a little bit of noise to the image, it completely throws off the detector. That leads me to believe that what they're doing is looking at the actual pixels themselves and the amount of variation between them or something along those lines. And that's how they're ultimately coming to their conclusion about if something is AI generated or not. This is more robust than trying to find similarities between images that can be completely different, because in general, real images have a wide range of things that they can be. It's hard to have something that can include all of that stuff. However, it's both easy to circumvent and get around, as you saw in the video, and it's also easy to mislabel images, as you saw also in the video. I could easily get the thing to mislabel these images as being AI generated with tiny changes, because it's focused so much on a very specific pattern that if you're able to replicate that, it's easy to get it to mislabel as being AI generated or to circumvent the labeling. You understand? This method that they're using ultimately is better, but as I said, it leads to some big negatives. Like, for example, upscalers. In general, if you want to upscale an image, the only way to do so and have the image still look good is to add additional data to the image. This detector ends up misclassifying images that are upscaled as being AI generated, simply for the fact that they got upscaled. Upscalers existed long before any AI generated image anything existed, well before any of that stuff. It's so consistent that you literally can use any image that you want and make it re-reported as being AI generated, as you saw in the video, by simply upscaling the image. That obviously can't go, and that is not a good thing to have happen. And that's the big disadvantage of looking at the pixels in the image. You're gonna put a more general thing, but if someone knows what pattern you're doing, then they can easily emulate whatever it is that you're doing to get around or to misclassify intentionally. You should not be about to work on your image and wonder, wait a second, can I actually upscale with this or this one? I'm assuming that you're just a regular person, you draw your image or whatever, you want to upscale, and you're like, I don't know. Ultimately, as far as I'm concerned, it's irrelevant. You shouldn't have to limit yourself to certain tools based on some random arbitrary labeler. It shouldn't matter if somebody used a pen, a pencil, a crayon, Photoshop, AI image generation, or whatever else. It shouldn't be that you're there making your image and be like, oh, I can use the brush tool in Photoshop, but if you use the pen tool, that's cheating. It's like, what? Like, this to me is ridiculous. If you're working on your thing, you're working on your thing, and it shouldn't be that you're literally scared that your tool is gonna be labeled in a particular way because apparently some tools are just banned or something. I don't think that makes any sense, and I feel like this is ultimately gonna lead to more problems than it solves. The worst part is about this sort of system is that it does not even do what it's supposed to do in the best of circumstances. If the point of this is to limit the amount of unlabeled AI generated content, if you're banning or otherwise limiting AI generated content in some way, then you've just created a large incentive for people to get around whatever you've put in. You've made it where people who were more than willing before to just come in and be like, oh yeah, AI generated, this is AI generated, this is AI generated. Now, if they say that, they'll literally get banned or filtered or some other thing. So it means that they are incentivized to lie. People who were perfectly fine to tell the truth before, now they're incentivized to lie. So you made it where most of your audience, people who were just telling the truth and fine before, now all of a sudden they have to lie, because if they don't lie, they're gonna get blocked or banned or something like that. So now they won't say that their content is AI generated, and then on top of that, they'll try to circumvent whatever security or whatever it is that you've put in place. They'll try to circumvent that to get their content on, because that's the only way to get it on. Literally, if they tell the truth, they'll be removed or filtered or something like that, and obviously nobody's gonna want to have that happen. So you literally, by adding a labeler, you've increased the amount of unlabeled content, since a bunch of content that was labeled before is now unlabeled and circumventing the labeler because there's incentive to do so. Before there wasn't. You understand? You've made it where it's harder to tell what's real and what's not real. You understand? This also does not increase the amount of security or surety on the platform at all. In fact, it does the opposite. Any image that was self-labeled before, if somebody's coming and telling you, hey, this is AI generated, then obviously they are less likely to have some ill intent with that image. You understand? However, if somebody is less willing to tell you, then it's more likely to have bad intent. Not necessarily that it is, but it's just more likely. My point is if you add a system like this, then you make it where everyone is not labeling their content now. Obviously, anyone with bad intent is still gonna try to circumvent your system, and the people with good intent, if they're just honest and they don't just decide to circumvent your system now, which is what I expect most people will ultimately end up doing, if they don't do that, then they just get punished by whatever ban system you put in place. So you end up with a system that punishes honest people and rewards dishonest people. They end up in a state where, well, might as well just lie. Haven't decreased the amount of bad content. In fact, you've increased the amount of bad content, and you're now taking perfectly normal people who are willing to be upfront with you and turn them into liars now by doing this sort of thing. So you're not making the platform more secure, where you at least catch some bad actors. The bad actors are the least likely to be affected by this because they're most likely to circumvent something like this. The good actors are the ones who are going to be affected. So you do not increase security in any way. In fact, you decrease security by increasing the amount of unlabeled, illegitimate content that exists on your platform. But one of the worst parts is if people truly do trust this system, if they believe the content that exists on your platform, then you just created an issue. All it takes is for me, for example, to take an artist and take their images and show them and be like, oh, see, this artist's images are actually AI generated according to Twitter. If you look at this, you can see clearly that this artist's images is AI generated. You can delegitimize by utilizing Twitter or whoever is using this as your evidence, because you take the image, warp it in some way, upload it, and then Twitter's like AI generated, and you can easily use it to delegitimize other people. Also, you can use it to legitimize other things, like by, for example, the images I showed earlier. You can use these and say, aha, my conspiracy is correct because look at these images. It's AI generated according to Twitter. Because some separate party is the one applying the label, if people trust the label, you can make it seem like people agrees with whatever you're pushing forward. This form of attack did not exist before because the platform wasn't legitimizing the content by applying some truth label to it or something. This is a new form of attack that you've added by adding the labeler. And of course, this only exists if people do believe the labels and stuff, which they shouldn't believe the labels. Of course, if people don't believe the labels, then the question is, obviously, if you have a labeler that unfairly targets truthful AI artists, mislabels art based on what tool was used in the making process, has false positives on perfectly normal art that didn't do anything, increases the amount of illegitimate art on your platform because everybody's incentivized to lie, and adds a new way of being attacked to your platform, then why do you even have the labeler? I see this sort of thing as being a huge step in the wrong direction. Like, essentially by adding this, you're going to increase the amount of illegitimate content on your platform by a ton. They're going to end up with so much content that is unlabeled that is on these platforms. It's going to be actually impossible to tell because every single person is going to be lying. Because why would you tell the truth if you're going to get so much punishment? Who's going to say that, hey, please filter my art, block me from your platform, please, thank you? Why would anyone do that? It doesn't make any sense. You're practically incentivizing the people to lie by doing this sort of systems. Obviously, you're going to end up with a ton of people lying. Not to mention that with this sort of thing, you're constantly chasing after a moving target. Like an example I can give quickly here is this image, which is clearly an AI generated image. Of course, this is how AI generated images used to look back in the day. We've obviously moved past this, but you can see that's like 26.3%. The problem with this sort of thing that's happening here is because this sort of tool is trying to be very general, it has to be very specific. It means that it's constantly chasing a moving target. What does that mean? It means that you can end up in a situation where this tech doesn't improve. In fact, as it improves, it gets better at targeting the current content that people share the most, but it gets worse at targeting the old content. And it's going to be very difficult to dual wield these things and be able to target like all types of content as it goes, because if you over target one thing, then you under target another thing, and you can easily end up in a situation where you have to have 10 different models all trying to label your content at the same time, which is going to become unfeasible very quickly, all to just prevent art that never needed to be labeled in this way to begin with. As far as I'm concerned, if you're scared about having too much AI generated content, then this is the perfect way to increase the amount of AI generated content on your platform by a ton. And not just increase the amount of AI generated content, but but increase the potential for this content to deal damage. It's easy enough to get around these sorts of things. It took me like a few minutes to figure out how to get around this thing. I just found out about this today and I made a video and I was able to get around it within like 2 minutes. This is supposedly 99% accurate. 99% accurate if people do not try to get around. But if you try to get around, you immediately get around it. So this is the thing. It's like, anyway, guys, I just thought I should introduce this to you. I'm pretty sure more and more of this stuff is going to happen. And the thing is, this is only going to get worse and worse because more and more tools are going to integrate AI into their workflow. And if this content is going to be labeled or mistreated or filtered out in some way, you're going to end up in a situation where people are going to be scared to use tools that improve their art because they think they'll get mislabeled in some way. You have to be watching tutorials to figure out which tools you're allowed to use and not get labeled as being an AI art generator, as if that was a bad thing to begin with. So it's just really terrible. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching the video. Catch you in the next video. And yeah.